At Ngqwala Senior Secondary School outside Tsolo, near Mthatha in the Eastern Cape. We are interviewing the principal of Ngqwala Senior Secondary School, Principal Abonga Mtse, about the wonderful work that the school has done. The school has obtained 88% in Matric, and it is quite a feat because of where the school comes from. It was at one time as low as 28%, but it has managed to reach 88%. It's in a rural area where there are very few resources. Welcome to Sadtu Online TV. Can you tell us who Mr. Mtse is?
Mtse Abonga was born at Mount Frere in 1992, but in 2002 my mother go back from where he was born at Tsolo, and then whereby we continued with our school, that is at Mandela JSS. And then in 2008, I go to at high school, that is at Lutuka Senior Secondary School at Ngqwala area. And then in 2010, I finished my Matric and I go to Walter Sisulu University, whereby I've studied for B.Ed Natural Science, whereby I was majoring with maths and physical science, due to the fact that those were my subject that I liked at high school. So I wanted to pursue them in terms of teaching, because I could see that I'm having some potential in terms of assisting also other learners when it comes to maths and physics. So I've done a B.Ed Natural Science from 2011 up until 2014. And then in 2015, I've finished my degree, and then I got employed at KT Mkasa at Tsolo, that is at Tsolo town, whereby I was employed to teach maths and physical science. But I think in 2015, also in the same year, two teachers that were teaching maths left the school, and I was the only one that was given the opportunity to teach maths from grade 10 to grade 12. And then since then, I became a specialist because I was the only teacher that is teaching grade 10, grade 11. So as time goes on, I found the possibility that I become more of a specialist of maths, simply because I handled the maths at that time. So that is me at KT Mkasa. But in 2019, I received now a post at Ngqwala Senior Secondary School for being an HOD, that is the head of a department, whereby I had to be the head in looking or in dealing with maths and physical science and life science and agricultural science. Maybe the main reason was Ngqwala Senior Secondary School at 2018 had the really challenges when dealing with maths, because learners got 0% in maths, got 0% in physics in 2018. So they had to look for someone that is a specialist during that time. So they employed me to be the head of the Department of Science. So in that year, I arrived here in 2019 June. So the main objective first for me was to try to improve the results, of which fortunately at the end of the year, that is 2019, I got 40 for physical science, and then I got 35 for mathematics. And that also shown in terms of the results, because the results in 2018 was at 28%, but they improved now up to 45% in 2019, of which I would say that was the beginning of this beautiful journey. Because in 2020, the principal, that is the former principal of Ngqwala Senior Secondary School, Miss Mindu, retired due to age. And then when she retires, the Department of Education and the community appointed me as the acting principal. So in 2020, I was the acting principal at Ngqwala. As much as that year had problems, because it was the first time whereby we had this pandemic of COVID, and then school had to be closed for 3 months. But when we came back, we had the vision also as teachers and the community that we must make sure that the learners that were doing grade 12 at that time must pass. And fortunately, during that year, we managed to got 66%. And for the first time, we managed now to be one of the schools that are not under performance, because the Department of Education says the schools that got 65 and less, they are underperforming. So we're just above the border of 65. So we're very happy, and in 2021 I got now the opportunity to be formally employed as the principal at Ngqwala Senior Secondary School. So during that time, I had my vision, and then I took the vision to the community, and then I shared my vision. I took my vision to the learners, and then I shared my vision so that everyone could understand maybe its role or its part, so that at the end of the day we make sure that we reach or we get the goal that we have. And then fortunately in 2021 we got some memorable 88.6% in terms of a result. So this is me and Ngqwala Senior Secondary School.
What is it that you've had to do in order to ensure that the school succeeds?
First of all, I think each and every school must have a culture. That is the first part. So as a principal, you must develop a culture that you want to work with your teachers, and then also you must involve your teachers in terms of the vision of the school, because they will also be part. So I sit down with my teachers, and then I sit down with the community, so that we'll look at the mission and also the vision of the school within moving forward. So I shared my vision to them, they shared their vision, they shared their mission about the school, and then we had to look now about the objective or the goals that we want to reach, of which the first one that I will significantly outline was to make sure that these learners from this community definitely pass the grade 12, not only to pass but also to pass with great results, so that these learners from these communities can be able now to go to various universities around South Africa. So the main objective or the main vision was to make sure that we give these learners equality education, so that at the end they could become better citizens. What I noticed when we arrived here is that this community did not have any understanding based to the education. So it was very important that the learners that are coming from this school, at least they become role models to many children also into the community, so that if they go to university, those that are still behind, that are coming to grade 8, grade 9, they could see that if you perform better at school, you can go to university and then get a job, because we're having the problem of many learners dropping out, and we're having many problems of learners that doing nothing in the community. They become victims of drugs and alcohol. So we wanted to change the community, that they must look also into this part of education. I've also reached some of these objectives, because approximately 20 of our learners got bachelors in 2021, and almost all of them they already into universities, and they started others with a process of registration. So this is what we wanted. So this was the main objective, that at least to change these lives of these kids.
Is it for the first time that the school has learners at a university?
Also in 2020 we had approximately 12 learners that got bachelors, and then those learners we manage. We also take part in terms of making sure that we apply for these learners, so that the ones that manage to pass can go to the universities also. So in 2020 there are our learners that are from CPUT, UG, Walter Sisulu, even from 2020 results. So this year, at least now, we increased also that number, because now approximately 20 learners that have managed to get a quality bachelor's.
When one looks at the school, one
Yes.
says, how can a quality pass come out of a school? When one looks at it, I don't think you have a library, you
Yes.
don't have a laboratory. How did you manage to make sure that your objective is realized, not having the necessary or all the resources?
We're into deep rural areas. We don't have libraries, we don't have resources, we don't have infrastructure. Yes, these are the challenges that we have, but when we sit down, we say, okay, these are the challenges, but at least how can now we deal with these challenges, or how can we assist now these challenges in mind? So the very first strategy was to use traditional methods. We know we're still having a challenge also in network in this side. So we cannot also use a part of the technology, because I think in 2020, when the COVID arrived, the government started now to use this part of fourth industrial, whereby there were gadgets that were given out, there were data that were given to learners. But the main challenge into this side is part of also a network. So it's also difficult now to use technology to assist these learners. So the main thing that we used was to use traditional methods. Yes, we understand that the traditional methods are difficult, and they exhaust a lot of energy, and they use a lot of paperwork at the moment, simply because we don't have resources, infrastructure, libraries, we don't have labs, laboratories. But we must use at least that is a traditional method to make sure that these learners are passed. Maybe if I talk about traditional methods, I'm talking about making sure that these learners that are doing grade 12, a lot of time they are within school premises. For example, we have morning classes, we have afternoon classes, and then during the weekend there is a program that called Ilima, whereby the learners will come from Friday or up to Sunday. They live here at school. So during that time, we print question papers, we print previous question papers so that they revise. So they take those question papers and then they revise, and then there is a time whereby there are teachers also, whereby they're going to assist with revision. So that is the strategy that we've done within, so that we assist these learners.
Doesn't that lead to mental exhaustion?
It may lead to mental exhaustion, but if you prepare your learners, you must prepare them psychologically first. They must be motivated, because if you do these things without them putting like their responsibility, they can have a challenge in terms of coping with the level of works or any hours that they had to learn. But if you motivate them, and then if you explain the situation, for example, no technology, no resources, no laboratories, no libraries. So they must understand that for them, this is the only option, so that they will push and drive themselves. So if these learners are having a drive, it is possible to be done, and I can confess that it is possible, and these learners didn't have any challenge dealing with that. They managed through those experiences. So I would say with that, it depends how prepared are they. So if they are fully prepared, it is definitely possible for them to achieve that.
And the toll on the teachers, what did you do to teachers to motivate them to go this extra mile?
I think for teachers, it goes to the community. If we arrived at this community, and then we look at the problems, and we look at the challenges of this community, and I indicated that us as teachers, the only role that we can play to make sure that this community in the next 5-10 years is the better communities, to make sure that we sacrifice our time, we sacrifice our energy, we sacrifice our money for these kids. Because also when they come for these classes, there is nothing that they are not being paid. They are just coming, they are sacrificing their own time. They are coming at night, whereby is not safe. But I always put faith and hope, and tell them that for us, we act as parents for these kids. So as a parent, you must do everything possible to make sure that this kid is having a better future. So with that slogan in mind, they are not that difficult when it comes to doing or sacrificing their time for these kids. And it's been like this, and it's very difficult sometimes, whereby you are going to call a teacher at night and say come to a class by 8 up until 12 o'clock. Those are moments whereby you can really see that these people sacrifice their time, sacrifice their energy for these kids, especially whereby they are not going to get anything from the school, also from the department, but they're sacrificing their time. And also looking at the safety, whereby you talk about the teacher that is able to drive 30 kilometers alone at 12 a.m. So it's a challenging story, but we believe that God, through those times, is going to be with us, and such that at the moment we didn't have any case whereby there was someone that was unsafe. So with that, that is the only thing that we've managed to do.
And how did you motivate the community to buy into your vision and into this?
When it comes to the community, I think there is a big gap between the education sector and the community. Learners basically throw these learners into school, and then when we're having the challenges here at school, we find very difficult to communicate with the parents. So the first thing that I think I've done was to improve the communication between the teachers and the parents. For example, during term 1, there must be the meeting for grade 12 teachers and grade 12 parents, whereby we're going to share on the strategies and the method that we're going to use and how are they going to assist us as a school. And then also the community must be aware that, okay, at Ngqwala there will be this program that will take place. And then also when it comes to this part of safety, if now people are aware that at night there are learners at school, at least everybody that is walking around must not feel comfortable, because the members of the community must also assist when it comes to the safety. At the end, schools belongs to the community. So if the community stand up into any problem that arises at the school, because I remember last year there were few girls that they were staying around the school, and then I think one day there was someone that got into their room and then take their phones. Then it was the matter of the community to make sure that such cases don't happen anymore, so that if there is someone that is thinking of doing something, it will be difficult for them to do that. So I think now the role of the community is to make sure that it protect the school and then also engage into the programs that are happening at the school level.
You are not from the community.
Yes.
How did you manage to make the community to warm up to you, listen to you, and do what you ask them to do?
I think this is the part of communication. As a leader, you must be good in terms of communication, and you must be patient in terms of communication. So for me, it was the process of dividing the community. For example, you had the meeting with grade 12 learners, and then other meeting you had the meeting with the whole school another time. You had also the meeting with the SGB, and maybe also you had the meeting with the committees of the community. So through that, you are sharing you are sharing your visions, or you are sharing the strategies, or the method that the school is going to operate. And by the end of the year, everyone is knowing what is happening at school level, and then through that now they will understand fully what is happening at school level. Then that is community now is also involved by true communication. So I think as a principal, you must communicate better with the community, so that they understand what actually is happening at their school, because the reality is school belongs to the communities.
You are 29 years old. Did your age cause any challenge?
I think my age did not cause any challenges, because before I was appointed as a principal, I was a head of a department here, and then I acted also as principal. So those posts assisted me when it comes to people understanding or knowing me better, because when I came here as an HOD, I started to make sure that there is a culture that is being followed. Those posts assisted me when it comes to me appointed as a principal as young, because now people now had to look now on what I've achieved with e-school, and also what are the plans, or what they think within few years I can achieve.
Explain this culture.
By 8 o'clock, every learner must be at the classroom, and teachers must be already in classroom at 8 o'clock. And if there are 6 periods, all those 6 periods must make sure that there is teaching and lesson that is taking place. There is no learner that is moving around within the school time. So at 3 o'clock, that is the time whereby school are supposed to close, and then there is the afternoon classes whereby now there is a study. And then also you are taking out this part of absenteeism. Absenteeism is not allowed. If a learner is absent, there must be a reason coming with the parent why this learner was absent. And then also you must motivate learners in terms of passing. These learners must compete with passing in terms of the results, because we want now the better results. So with that, it giving you now the idea and the picture that this is the culture whereby everyone know its responsibility, everyone know what to do at what time. So by doing that, it is clear also to the community that if my learner is at Ngqwala Senior Secondary School, I know that by 12 o'clock my learner will not be at home, because that learner is still at school. By 1 o'clock my learner will be not at home, by that time is still at school. By 3, it's supposed to be the time that my learner is coming back. My learner will go to start his study by that time. So those are the little things that count when it comes to the education system.
Then let's come to you as a teacher, teaching mathematics and physical science. We see a decline in registration for these subjects, and yet you chose to stick to these subjects.
When a learner is coming from grade 9 and then is coming to do grade 10, that learner is having the mentality already that maths is difficult. So it's very difficult now for that learner to pass maths, because already that learner is coming to maybe into FET knowing that I am not going to make it when it comes to maths and physics.
Are you trying to say that you first demystify that myth?
I think maths also depend also in terms of your attitude. If you have a bad attitude towards maths, it's going to be difficult for you. So the first thing maybe as a maths teacher is to make sure that you motivate your learners. You're gonna do this, and then you tell how are they going to pass maths. Because for example, if you compare maths and another content subject, you just learn something and then it goes straight to your head, and then for the rest of your life you can remember that. But maths is procedurally. So a procedure is something that you can forget in any time. So it means you must also tell these learners that through revision every time, at least now the same procedure that they know, it means they will always remember that.
What did you do to make sure? Was there such a thing that perhaps they wanted to change, or they said, we want to continue with maths and science in the school?
I think that is still a challenge, to be honest. Many learners that are coming from grade 9, they are running out from maths stream to maths leads. So this is the matter that is coming from the society, and also these learners are coming with that perspective when they are coming to school. So it's very difficult to change their minds and their mindset when it comes to that. And I think it's one of the challenges also for the country.
Where do you want to see the Matric class of 2022?
When we talk about grade 12 of this year, and we're very clear when it comes to them. We've reached the target of 80 bracket. So for you, we want now the 90 to 100 bracket, hoping that there will be less challenges that we're gonna face this year, so that at least at the end of the year we reach that target.
Besides the learners and the teachers, putting this goal and this target, what else or who else would you like to see coming in to assist to ensure that you do reach this goal? Do you think this stands between just you and the learners?
If you talk about these classes that we talk about, extra classes and night classes, these classes need money in terms of assisting these learners, in terms of food, in terms of breakfast, in terms of supper. So most of the time we had to minimize those because one, the Department of Education is not having the money, so it's also difficult to call the money from the parents, because these parents are not working, the majority of them. So sometimes it's difficult to do these programs, to be having a lot of hours because of such problems. So we are hoping that other companies maybe that can assist, because there are sponsors into another schools. So we're hoping that at least also us, we can have some sponsors so that they could assist maybe members of the community that are maybe some business people from the community.
The issue of learners sleeping here in school and all that, why did you feel it was necessary for them to spend and sleep here in the school?
We are living into deep rural areas. If you go to town, you'll find that the learners from town have tutors whereby they move within groups and then they have those groups. But if you come here, you will see that there are many communities, approximately 5, 6. These learners are coming from these scattered communities. And also at night, it's not safe for one learner to go from this community to another community because there are forests, there are rivers, so it's not safe. So we saw that, okay, if they can come into a school premises, it will be much safer, and it will assist them in terms of motivation, because if a learner is staying alone at home during that weekend, that learner can do nothing. But if it's here at school, at least there is a lot that can be done within in terms of looking at your revision and also looking at previous question papers, study guides, all those things.
I'm sure that has come at a cost.
Yes.
Yeah.
For us as teachers, it's a real sacrifice, because we had to come here during those times without getting nothing from the school, getting nothing from the department. But we are doing that through our hearts, through our sacrifices, through our cost, through our expenditure, so that these learners of this community get something. So it's difficult as time goes on. For example, 2022, if you look at the levels, the prices of petrol and oil, for the parents for grade 12, we just request a little bit for that. At least we were able to buy those fast foods. For example, talk about bread, you buy bread every day. So
from your pocket?
No, from we request at least something from the parents. And then so that at least we're able now to buy something during like the morning, buy bread, we buy more fight, we buy these instant porridge, because there are things that we buy almost every week.
There's this perception, it's mainly a political perception, that Sadtu members do not want to teach. Sadtu members are lazy.
Those people that are thinking that if you are a Sadtu member, you are politically minded. Not every Sadtu member is a political member. For example, me, I'm into Sadtu. I go for the meetings, I go for the marches that we had, I go for the conferences that we had, that is at OR Tambo Hall. I go for the sport. I'm the person for sport. I play football. I like this part of athletics also. There are also this program of drama. But the perception to the community that when you are associated with the union, you are mostly someone that is close to the politics, of which not every person is like that, because you can like Sadtu and the programs and you participate. People think once you start to like Sadtu and then you start now to be more of a politically influenced, of which that is not always the case, because we're here, we're Sadtu members, but we are putting our time through these learners, and we want to make sure that these learners at least get something and they pass.
Do you believe that one can fight and teach at the same time?
When we are talking about a teacher, it means there are also a relation, that labor relations, that you must also involve within your work, because when you are working, you are also a labor. So it means there are things that you must consider, so that consider fighting, and there are also time whereby you must also make sure that you teach as a teacher. So I believe that sometimes you can fight, and then sometimes you can go and being a teacher. Sadtu does not require maybe 50% of your time. Let's say, for example, Sadtu will require 10% of your time. So it means you must use 90% of your time on focusing on teaching and learning, and then you use that 10% of your time and focusing on the union, because definitely we'll need to understand what is going to you basically in terms of labor relations, because you must understand what is happening also when it comes to as a teacher now generally. And then also, if there is an issue that is at school level, there must be someone that is going to represent you, and you must be at least safe in terms of understanding that there is a backup in terms of any procedure that can happen into a departmental level.
What words of wisdom can you share with members of Sadtu, being in a position you are in? You are a principal at a very young age, you have achieved such. What can you share with members?
You must make sure that you have goals at the beginning of the year so that you know what you want to reach at the end of the year, especially when it comes to teaching and learning, because that is the main purpose. And then also you must also be part of Sadtu in terms of making sure that you're updated on what is happening into labor relations.
Where do you see this? This is the last one. Where do you see your school in 5 years' time?
We have the vision that one day we want to see 100% pass mark. So we'd love to have those learners passing all of them with quality results, making sure that they pursue their careers also into varsity level, and making sure that we shape the future of this community. In the next 10 years, we want this community to have people that are working. We don't want unemployment rate that we see here. We want young people that will be responsible and working, telling other people that through education we've managed to change our families, our future, and our community.
What is your name?
I'm Sipenda Masing.
You are doing grade 12.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You are one of the students in Mr. Mze's class.
Yes.
Just tell me briefly about Mr. Mze. What kind of a teacher is he?
Mr. Mze is such a brilliant teacher because he knows how to teach us mathematics, since we all know that mathematics is such a difficult subject. But he makes it more easier for us to understand it. And he knows how to interact with us, even if he knows that some particular chapters are difficult for us, but he makes time for us to understand them.
I understand that there are afternoon classes, and the grade 12 last year were also coming or even sleeping at the school. How far are you prepared to go to make sure that you pass this year? Are you prepared to go to do the afternoon classes and the weekend classes and all these classes?
Yes, I am. And we have even started with the afternoon classes. But in mid-March, we're going to start with the late classes too, to prepare for the March exams.
What do you want to do after passing Matric?
I want to be a teacher.
How are people viewing this school? Is this a popular school? Do learners want to come to this school?
Yeah, it is. This year, actually, it is. Since our grade 12 learners passed a lot. So now people are starting to know and get to know Ngqwala, since it was not known previously, but this year it's becoming more and more popular.
Are you now proud that you are part of this school?
I'm actually proud.
Can you tell us what your name and surname is?
My name is Ngqwala, my surname is Ngqwala.
What is it that excites you about being a student at Ngqwala?
It's because of the previous matriculants who has done a good performance. So they encourage me that I have to make better and better on my studies.
You are doing mathematics, and most learners don't like to do mathematics. Why did you choose to do mathematics?
It's because I was inspired to be a doctor since I was a kid. So, and these teachers from Ngqwala know how to teach these subjects that seem to be difficult to others, but to us it seems like some sort of easier when you are working with such a good teachers.
You contributed towards a good mark attained by the school through your work and also the leadership that has been provided by the principal. Can you tell me briefly about your experience as a teacher in this school?
No, thank you. The experience has been good. It's been my first time exposed to the field, and I was welcomed by the warm welcoming of the principal and the staff. So to me, it was a privilege to have met such a unique staff. You can say I've contributed a lot because part of the extramural activities is under my watch mostly, and as a teacher, you grow. As a growing teacher, in the midst of it all, but umfundisi ne staff are very welcoming and ululu senza nabantu abafana nabo.
Uprincipal uye wasixelela ukuba nine vision yalesi sikole, and nonke as teachers you share this vision and nine objectives. Can you tell us briefly how it came about that you set and created this vision? Because abanye abantu bavuka basi, I'm just going to work, I'm doing my work, but Nina, you sat down and created a vision.
What motivated that and what is that vision?
Ubukhangelisa kahle ilali le ube yafumana isikolo esiselalini and abantwana balapha kwi-surroundings zalapha kuNgqwala wofumanisa oba abantwana bambala abantwana abafumana imfundo bade bayophumela. Most yabo iphelela apha mhlawumbe drop out kwa grade 12 okanye grade 11 angaqhubeleki. So one of the things eyasipusha as a staff kukuba sifuna ukuphakamisa lelali izinga lalelali nemfundo kulelali neziphaluka and the surrounding areas. Okwesibini enye vision ebesinayo is that singabantwana abancinci sonke abesikolweni abantu abadala bambalwa, so sifuna ukuvela nathi siveze nesikolo and ne-management wona SMT eyiyo iza ne-vision kuni nizititshala then nigrabhe nina. Xhomeke ngoba i-relationship between i-management naba bazititshala kuze kube lula ngokuba uyise ebantwaneni kufuneka uqale uvale nani zititshala ne-management. So i-management xa isithengisela umbono yoba ibawela oba isikolo siphakame then nathi zititshala sayigrabha because relations between thina ne-management zihle kakhulu.
Sometimes abayiboni into enibanqwanela yona.
Abantu mhlawumbe besaziNgqwala ngo-2019 kunangoku bangabona umahluko omkhulu because we had to find indlela zoba sibafake kulento sikuyo banqwanqwada mhlawumbe uthetha nabo phaya naphaya ubabuyisela elayinini to say sisisikolo sifuna ubheka pha abafundi ke ngonawo kufuneka sibathengisele umbono mhlawumbe ngokuya eziklasini mostly extra classes nawo bayiboma ekuyafunda ku serious lanto ba xa be late esikolweni umuntu ohlale ngaphandle angangeni ayazi oba if anivukanga ngomso obvious ngomso phela hlale ngaphandle. So zi-measures ezabezizamela oba xa bebuyela ke ngoba yazi oba babalisene nabanye ubujonga i-role ka yeminyaka edlulileyo kuneyalo nyaka uzabona uba wonke umntwana uyafuna uza-associate noNgqwala because ubonile oba sisikolo esizamayo.
Usibona siphi esi sikole in 5 years time?
In 5 years time ngathi in 3 years time one of the top achievers, if I put it that way. I believe basobe silanqanaba labantu abakuthiwa si-top achievers. Okwesibini sikhala ibe sisikolo esi-exposed phansi kuzo ezilali ezi-surrounding to say wonke umntwana okhoyo apha afuna uza-associate neNgqwala because kuyazameka siyaphambile sizama kandlela zonke oba isikolo sibe yile nto sikhala sibe yiyo. So in 5 years time no sibona sisisikolo esisiso phakathi kwezikolo ezikhoyo.
Yiphi enye into obona uba iyadingekalayo ukuthi ibe khona esikolo ngaphandle kwe-commitment yenu? What else do you think is needed in this school for it to do better?
If bekuthiwa ndiyakwazi ke ndizawuthi ngeqayelwa phantsi kwa-A because as you can see we have only that block engathi ibhadlile. This one iyaxokomezela njengoba uyibona uba iblock edityaniswayo and sinenumbers ezinkulu. One eyona ibaluleke kakhulu apha honestly speaking zii-classes asinazo sinabantwana abaninzi. Sometimes I'm sure sometime apha enyakeni we have to abantwana abazayo sibajike because asina space. Wesona nto ye-COVID ke besibethe kakhulu because kufuneka be-phase in abanye beza abanye bangezi, so isibethe kakhulu because sinee-classes ezimbalwa. So enye ye-challenges leyo sinayo ii-classes kakhulu honestly speaking zii-classes. We have huge numbers in one class encinci fanele abantwana abaninzi kunzima xa utitsha ke eklasini eninzi uyayazi it's exhausting. You have to know kanti xa ungutitshala you have to know uba okay lo mfundi uyalekhisha nalowa uyalekhisha but xa bebaninzi ke ngoku ukwazi identifya izikills zabo mhlawumbi ne-abilities zabo kunzima uba identify uba okay lona sislow learner lona uquick and ubhidisa abanye yabona khona abantu abaqala unyanzeleka uba uyam-identify uba okay mandimnikeze umsebenzi onzima kunalo uthatha kancinci. So awukwazi uyibona because baninzi ufuna ukuphusha ilesson and kube kusithiwa ke you have to push ilesson ka-term 1 uyigqibile ngexesha elinikeziweyo. So zii-classes mostly. Eyesibini asina-resources. Textbooks kufuneka xa ufuna i-textbook ufotokopa phepha 100 aphele. Now ufuneke ngoku xa uzakwenza i-practical uyoboleka i-equipment kwesinye isikolo because asinazo. Kwesika-science azikho like azikho awunozikhomba nawe xa nothi ngena apha awunozifumana. Akho libraries, akho textbooks. Kuyadityaniswa siya kwezinye izikolo simane siboleka akho nto ikhoyo.
Yeah, I understand that you are a teacher, a technology teacher. What technology are you teaching? Because I don't see anything technology here.
It's a must that I use textbooks and my creativity. If senze umbani, I'll have to find the box ngokunokwam, box ndizame with my own skills and whatever I may call it, because akho nto isebenzisa. Or I go to other schools, the nearest schools, I borrow those circuits and those equipment for that practical, for that particular practical. So it's kind of it's kind of hard, but because we have a vision, guess siya push.
So, if you were to have resources, it would make your work to be more easy.
More easier and more fluent, because one don't be to sebe right. They are in the right lane for learning and teaching. So for us to be able to deliver to them, we need those resources, and for them to see them practical, because ngoba ibona textbook bangayazi at hand, and ke ngoku ayincedisi uba ayazi ngoba textbook abengayazi uyiphatha. Uyayibona umzali if I speaking of an ammeter uyayibona nje incwadini akazuyibona akazuyiphatha ngesandla because akanayo. So yeah.
Thank you very much, but I wish you all the best. I wish the school all the best. Thank you.
Good afternoon to the listeners and everyone who's watching. I am Mr. Sotia at Ngqwala Senior Secondary School, the most improving school in the province. This is, as you can see behind me, this is my choir. We're preparing for the tie ceremony together with the Saske that is about to be endorsed as coming back to the schools. So this is my choir. I'm going to give you a small clip of what we are doing here. We are trying to take the learners back from the streets and to discipline them, because when music is part of the disciplinary measures in the school, as part of the DC committee, we are going to show you what we are giving these learners. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4.